from one controversial issue to another. The wife of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange says he will kill himself if he's extradited to the United States. The Home Secretary has signed an order to send him to Virginia to face a potential 175-year jail sentence over espionage charges.
Yeah, now his wife, Stella Morris, said she will fight the decision with every available avenue until he is free.
Well, Richard Hillgrove is a former advisor to Julian Assange and joins us now. Good to see you this morning. Look, this is very problematic, isn't it? He's got 2 weeks to try and fight against this, but, I mean, it seems unlikely he's going to win, doesn't it?
I think it's highly likely something will kick in, like the situation with Rwanda. Obviously, if the European Court of Human Rights decides to act, and that would be a last resort, then that is a certain play. The problem you've got with the situation is that no one in power in America really wants Julian Assange on American soil and going to a fair court trial and leaking to his heart's content. I mean, this is a man that they've tried to prevent from leaking. They do not want him to have a day in court, clearly. I think his life's in danger, quite personally.
Well, I mean, we know that he has shown suicidal tendencies before. He suffered a lot of stress. Whatever you think of him, that's a fact, apparently, isn't it? To be extradited to the United States and tried on espionage charges would probably be enough to trigger those same emotions again. Is that what you're worried about?
Well, yes, and that's what the judge, Vanessa Barrister, ruled on, and why she said he must not be extradited because of his mental health and, suicidal tendencies. And that was a complete foreshadowing of what could happen to him if he got extradited. And it's just really convenient. That's one side of it. You could say his mental health is bad, and if he gets on that plane, he gets over there, he will, top himself. But the other side of it is that he's been under surveillance. The Spanish National High Court is currently looking to call Mike Pompeo, former head of CIA, as a witness for a very deliberate attempt at assassination of Assange while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. So which one is it? Epstein, was it suicide or was he suicided? And even the Jean-Luc Brunel, the model agent in Paris, very conveniently suicided. So whichever side you look at it, it doesn't look very good for Julian Assange from a sort of human rights point of view.
I think, though, in terms of what our viewers and listeners think of all of that, I mean, bringing up a conspiracy theory, if you like, and putting him on the same plate as Jeffrey Epstein is not going to do Julian Assange any favours, is it?
Well, I think nothing can do him any favours anymore. He's been, in solitary confinement. He's not even being charged with anything now, yet he's been kept in a maximum security prison. So all his rights are out the window. And, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture said he's been psychologically tortured. So there's not a conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. And whether you look at it from the point of view that the judge in the UK has already said he's a massive suicide risk if he's sent to America, or whether he is in fact in danger, and I wouldn't know that, but I mean, some people could argue that. Either way, if his life's in danger, should he be put on a plane? I think this is a very political situation. The extradition treaty rules against...
Forgive me, but I mean, you're quite right that judge did make that assertion, and as a result, the extradition was blocked. Well, that was appealed, and the next level of court looked at this in detail and said, actually, no, we don't think his life is in danger. We don't think he's going to be inhumanely treated in the United States, which is why it was then allowed to go ahead. So whatever the first judge said, she's been overruled.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's the grounds for appeal. I mean, you've had 300 doctors. No one in the mainstream media has even reported this. They've all written letters saying that he's at massive suicide risk. And not from a conspiracy point of view that someone's going to come and top him in an American jail rather than see him go to court whatsoever. Yes, his mental health is suffering. So the 300 doctors have written this letter. So I suppose that's the grounds for appeal. That's why going to the European Court of Human Rights is an option. But also there's the idea of an annulment of the extradition order, because all the lawyers are under surveillance. The UK government has apologised to his lawyers very recently for putting him under surveillance. There's other cases running. Just that in itself should null and void any extradition order. So whether it's human rights or just the whole legal process as a shambles, should be grounds for him. You know, what was good enough for Gary McKinnon not to be sent by Theresa May when she was Home Secretary should be good enough for Priti Patel. I think her personal animosity for the person, you know, is so extreme. She hates them. And so that sort of led the decision in terms of let's just get him out there.
Do you think that's half his problem? I mean, there are a couple of pieces in the papers today that suggest it's because he has become an unlikable, unsympathetic character that actually the government, Priti Patel, is prepared to take a very hard line on this. If he were more of a likeable, heroic character, it wouldn't be the same.
I think his psychology is that he's very non-partisan. I mean, he's leaked against Russia. He's leaked against America. There's no one that he would call his friend. So no one knows how to handle him. You couldn't say he's been very much sort of campaigned for by the left and the hard left. But I mean, but the extreme right also identify with them. But then no one really can put their finger on it. And when it comes down to do I back Julian Assange, people don't know what to do. I mean, in the early days, the Champagne socialists found it very trendy to support him. There was Lady Gaga visiting him in the Ecuadorian embassy. You know, where's she now? You know, where are all these people that have come in and had a look and had a poke around when he really needs it? But it's troublesome because if he was allowed to go out on the street and they let him go and he's on his laptop and he's on the Wi-Fi, he would probably begin leaking again. And that is the dilemma that the world's governments face. But however, his human rights should take preeminence. This is a situation about a human life. And either way you look at it, whether you say he's in danger in a US prison, because look, the CIA have got form. There's a situation going on right now in Spain where it's basically going to be proven that there was an assassination attempt. I mean, when I was representing his PR, which began when his communications were cut off and he lost access to the internet and phone access in the Ecuadorian embassy, I was getting approached by alleged American lawyers who are also authors wanting to write books or co-author books and wanted access on the basis of legal privilege. And Assange was saying, he's joking. They want to murder me. They want to murder me. And you might call Julian paranoid. And obviously he's showing extreme psychological tendencies towards paranoia. However, there's a real case there. You know, the fact the UK government has admitted to surveillance just recently. I mean, come on, we have to look at this. Why would the United Nations rule that this is unfair and he's been psychologically tortured? We've got to pay attention to some of the facts.
Richard Hillgrove, we've got to leave it there, but it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, let us know what you think on that one. It is a controversial issue.
It's the dangers, I think, of being he would have called himself once upon a time anyway, an investigative journalist. He was prepared to publish things that were against all sorts of secrets and governments.
But he put lives at risk doing it.
Put lives at risk in the way he did it because he was reckless, but he still did it. And so is this about freedom of the press? Or do you have no sympathy with him at all? No. And why go to the trouble of allowing his extradition? Why not just keep him in Belmarsh?
He can't. There's no charges against him here. But he served his time because he skipped bail, of course, which is when he went to the Ecuadorian embassy.
Yes.
So he was then sentenced to a year in prison, which has then been obviously sustained because of the extradition request. We have to let him go.